गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजनीवती दीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवाहितं यधायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यव उतोत इषवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुत ते नमः यात इषु शिवतमा शिवं बभूव ते धनुः शिवा शरव्या यातवतया नो रुद्रमडया या ते रुद्र शिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुवाशन्तमया गिरिशन्ताभिजाकशीः यामिषुं गिरिशन्तहस्ते बिभर्षस्तवे शिवां गिरित्रतां कुरु माहि गुंसेः पुरुषं जगत शिवेन वचसा त्वा गिरिशाचावधामसि यथा नः सर्वमिज्जगत यक्ष्मगं सुमना असत अध्यवोचदधिवक्ता प्रथमो देव्योऽभिषक अहेग्यश्च सर्वान् जम्भयन्त् सर्वाश्च यातु धान्यः असो यस्ताम्रो अरुण उत बभ्रुः सुमङ्गलः ये चेमागुं रुद्र अभितो दिक्षु श्रिता सहस्रशो वैशागुं हेडयीमहे असो यो वसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उतेनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुदहार्यः उतेनं विश्वा भूतानि सदृष्टो मृडयतिनः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीरुषे अथो ये अस्य सत्त्वानोऽहं तेभ्यो करन्नमः प्रमुञ्च धन्वनस्त्वमुभयोरात्मीयोर्जाम् याश्च ते हस्त इषवः पराता भगवो वपा अवतत्यदनुस्त्वगं सहस्राक्षशुधे शुधे निशीर्य शल्यानां मुखा शिवो नः सुमना भव विज्जं धनुः कपर्दिनोऽभिशल्यो बाणवागम् उत अनेशन्नस्येषव आभुरस्य निषङ्गतिः या ते हे धर्मे दुष्टमहस्ते बभूव ते धनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मया परिभुज नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधाय नातताय धृष्णवे उभाभ्यामुत ते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेतिरस्मान् वृणक्तो विश्वतः अतो य इषुदिस्तवारे अस्मन्निदेहितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः नमो हिरण्यबाहवे सेनान्ये दिशाञ्च पतये नमो नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यः पशूनां पतये नमो नमः सस्पिञ्जराय त्विषीमते पथीनां पतये नमो नमो बभ्लुषाय विद्याधीनेनां पतये नमो नमो हरिकेशायोपवीतिने पुष्टानां पतये नमो नमो भवस्य हेत्ये जगत्तां पतये नमो नमो रुद्राय ततादिने क्षेत्राणां पतये नमो नमः सूताय हन्त्याय वनानां पतये नमो नमो रोहिताय स्तपतये वृक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो मन्त्रणे वाणिजाय कक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो भुवन्तये वारिवस्कृतायौषधीनां पतये नमो नमः उच्चैर्घोषाय क्रन्दयते पत्तीनां पतये नमो नमः कृत्स्नवीताय धावते सत्त्वनां पतये नमः नमः सहमानाय नव्यादिन आव्यादिनीनां पतये नमो नमः ककुभाय निषङ्गिणे स्तेनानां पतये नमो नमो निषङ्गिन इषुधिमते तस्कराणां पतये नमो नमो वञ्जते परिवञ्जते स्तायूनां पतये नमो नमो निचेरवे परिचरायारण्यानां पतये नमो नमः श्रिकाविभ्यो जिगागं सत्भ्यो मुष्णतां पतये नमो नमो सिमद्भ्यो नक्तं चरभ्यः प्रकृन्तानां पतये नमो नमः ऊष्णीशिने गिरिचराय कुलुञ्चानां पतये नमो नमः इषुमद्भ्यो धन्वाविभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः आतन्वानेभ्यः प्रतितधानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः आयश्चद्भ्यो विसृजद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमो स्यद्भ्यो विद्यद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः आसीनेभ्यश्च यानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः स्वपद्भ्यो जाग्रद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः स्तिष्ठद्भ्यो धावद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सभापतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो अश्वेभ्यो अश्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः नमः आव्याधिनीभ्यो विविद्यन्तिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः उगणाभ्यस्त्रिगंहतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो घृत्सेभ्यो घृत्सपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो व्रातेभ्यो व्रातपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गणेभ्यो गणपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो विरूपेभ्यो विश्वरूपेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो महत्यः क्षुल्लकेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रतिभ्यो रतेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रथेभ्यो रत्तपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सेनानीभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः क्षत्तर्भ्यः सङ्ग्रहीतर्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः स्तक्षभ्यो रथकार्येभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः कुलालेभ्यः कर्मारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः पुञ्जिष्टेभ्यो निषादेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः इषुकृभ्यो धन्वकृभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो मृगयुभ्यः श्वनीभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः श्वभ्यः श्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः नमो भवाय च रुद्राय च नमः शर्वाय च पशुपतये च नमो नीलग्रीवाय च शितिकण्ठाय च नमः कपर्दिने च व्युप्तकेशाय च नमः सहस्राक्षाय च शतधन्वने च नमो गिरिशाय च शिपिविष्टाय च नमो मीरुष्टमाय चेषुमते च नमो रसवाय च वामनाय च नमो प्रहते च वर्षीयसे च नमो वृद्धाय च संवृद्ध्वने च नमो अग्र्याय च प्रथमाय च नमः आशवे च जिराय च नमः शीघ्रियाय च शेव्याय च नमः ऊर्म्याय च वस्वन्याय च नमः श्रोतस्याय च द्वेद्याय च नमो ज्येष्ठाय च कनिष्ठाय च नमः पूर्वजाय च परजाय च नमो मध्यमाय च पगर्भाय च नमो जघन्याय च भूत्नीयाय च नमः सोऽभ्याय च प्रतिसर्याय च नमो याम्याय च क्षेम्याय च नमः उर्वर्याय च खल्याय च नमः श्लोक्याय च वसान्याय च नमो वन्याय च कक्षाय च नमः श्रवाय च प्रतिश्रवाय च नमः आशुषेणाय च श्रुताय च नमः शूराय च वबिन्दते च नमो वर्मिने च वरुतिने च नमो बिल्मिने च कवचिने च नमः श्रुताय च श्रुतसेनाय च नमो दुन्दुभ्याय च हनन्याय च नमो धृष्णवे च प्रमृषाय च नमो दूताय च प्रहिताय च नमो निषङ्गिने चेषु धीमते च नमः तीक्ष्णीषवे च युधिने च नमः स्वायुधाय च सुधन्वने च नमः श्रुत्याय च पत्याय च नमः काट्याय च नेप्याय च नमः सूध्याय च सरस्याय च नमो नाध्याय च वेशन्ताय च नमः कूप्याय च वत्याय च नमो वर्षाय च नमो मेघ्याय च विद्युत्याय च नमः ईध्रियाय च तप्याय च नमो वात्याय च रेश्मियाय च नमो वास्तव्याय च वास्तुपाय च ॐ हर 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 ॐ नमः सोमाय च रुद्राय च नमः ताम्राय च रुणाय च नमः शङ्गाय च पशुपतये च नमः उग्राय च भीमाय च नमो अग्रे वदाय च दूरे वदाय च नमो हन्त्रे च हनीयसे च नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यो नमस्ताराय नमः शम्भवे च मयोभवे च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च नमः स्थित्याय च खोल्याय च नमः पार्याय च भार्याय च नमः प्रतरणाय चोत्तरणाय च नमः आतार्याय च लाद्याय च नमः षष्प्याय च फेन्याय च नमः सिकट्याय च प्रवाह्याय च नमः हिरण्याय च प्रपत्याय च नमः कीगंशिलाय च क्षयनाय च नमः कपर्दिने च पुलस्तये च नमो कोष्ठाय च कृत्याय च नमः स्तल्प्याय च गेग्याय च नमः काट्याय च गवरेष्ठाय च नमो हृदयाय च निवेश्याय च नमः पागं सव्याय च रजस्याय च नमः शुष्क्याय च हरित्याय च नमो लोप्याय चोलप्याय च नमः उर्व्याय च सूर्म्याय च नमः पर्ण्याय च पर्णशत्याय च नमो पगुरमाणाय च भिघ्नते च नमः आखिदते च प्रखिदते च नमो वक्किरिकेभ्यो देवानागं हृदयेभ्यो नमो वीक्षिणकेभ्यो नमो वीक्षिन्वट्केभ्यो नमः आनिरहतेभ्यो नमः आमिवट्केभ्यः द्रापे अन्धसस्पते दरिद्रन्नीललोहिता येषां पुरुषाणां येषां पशूनां माभेर्मा रोमो येषां किञ्चन ममता या ते रुद्र शिवा तनो शिवा विश्वाह भेषजी शिवा रुद्रस्य भेषजी तया नो बृरजीवसे इमागुं रुद्राय तवसे कपर्दिने क्षयद्वीराय प्रबरामहे मतिं यथा न शमशद्विपते चतुष्पते विश्वं पुष्टं ग्रामे अस्मिन् नातुरम् मृडानो रुद्रोत नो मयस्कृति क्षयद्वीराय नमसा विधेमते यच्चं च योश्च मनुरायजे पिता तदश्यम तव रुद्र प्रणीतो मानो महान्तमुत्तमानो अर्भकं मान उक्षन्तमुत्तमान उक्षितं मानो वदी पितरं मोत मातरं प्रियामानस्तनुवो रुद्ररीरिषः मानस्तोके तनये मान आयुषि मानो गोषु मानो अश्वेषु रीरिषः वीरान् मानुरुद्रभामितो वदिरः विष्मन्तो नमसा विधेमते आरात्य गोग्न उत पूरुषग्ने क्षयद्वीराय सुम्नमस्मे ते अस्तु रक्षा च नो अधि च देवा ब्रूयदा च न शर्मा यच्चत् द्विबरः ष्टुहि श्रुतं गर्सदं युवानं मृगान्नभीममुपहत्नुमुग्रं मृडा चरित्रे रुद्रास्तवानो अन्यन्ते अस्मन्निवपन्तु सेनाः परिणो रुद्रस्य हेतर्वृणक्तु परितेशस्य धुर्मतिरगायोः अवस्थिरा मघवत्पयस्तनुष्वमीध्वस्तोकाय तनयाय मृडया मीरुष्टमशिवतमा शिवो न सुमना भव परमे वृक्ष आयुधन्निदाय कृतं वसान आचर पिनाकं बिभ्रदागहि विकिरितविलोहित नमस्ते अस्तु भगवः यास्ते सहस्रगं हेतयोऽन्यमस्मन्निवपन्तु ताः सहस्राणि सहस्रदा बाहुवो स्तव हेतयः तासामीशानो भगवः पराचीनामुकाकृति सहस्राणि सहस्रशो ये रुद्रा अधिभूम्यां तेषागं सहस्रयोजने वधन्वानि तन्मसि अस्मिन् महन्त्यन्नवेऽन्तरिक्षे भवा अधि नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठाः शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठा दिवगुं रुद्र उपश्रिताः ये वृक्षेषु सस्पिञ्जरा नीलग्रीवा विलोहिताः ये भूतानाम् अधिपतयो विशिकास कपर्दिनः ये अन्येषु विविद्यन्ति पात्रेषु पिपतो जनानां ये पथां पतिरक्षय एलभृदायव्युधः ये तीर्थानि प्रचरन्ति श्रिकावन्तो निषङ्गिनः य एतवन्तश्च भूयागंसश्च दिशो रुद्रावितस्थिरे तेषागं सहस्रयोजने वधन्वानि तन्मसि नमो रुद्रेभ्यो ये पृथिव्यां येऽन्तरिक्षे ये दिवि येषामन्नं वातो वर्षमिषवस्तेभ्यो दश प्राचीद्दश दक्षिणादश प्रतीचीद्दशोदीचीद्दशो द्वास्तेभ्यो नमस्ते नो मृडयन्तु तेयं द्विष्वो यश्च नो द्वेष्टितं वो जम्भे दधामि त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् यो रुद्रो अग्नो यो अप्सु य ओषधीषु यो रुद्रो विश्वा भुवना विवेश तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु ये ते सहस्रमयुतं पाशा मृत्यो मर्त्यया हन्तवे तान् यज्ञस्य मायया सर्वानवायजामहे मृत्यवे स्वाहा मृत्यवे स्वाहा प्राणानां ग्रन्थिरसि रुद्रो मा विशान्तकः तेनान्येनान्त्यायस्व नमो रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे पाहि तमुष्टुहि अस्विषु सुदन्वायो विश्वक्षयति भेषजस्य यक्ष्वा महेशो मनसाय रुद्रं नमो भीर्देवमसुरं दुवस्य अयमे हस्तो भगवान् अयमे भगवत्तरः अयं मे विश्वभेषजो यगं शिवाभिमर्षणः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः शं च मे मयश्च मे प्रियं च मे नुकामश्च मे कामश्च मे सोमनशश्च मे भद्रं च मे श्रेयश्च मे वशश्च मे यशश्च मे भगश्च मे द्रविणं च मे यन्ता च मे दर्ता च मे क्षेमश्च मे धृतिश्च मे विश्वं च मे महश्च मे संवित् च मे ज्ञात्रं च मे सुश्च मे प्रसुश्च मे शिरं च मे लयश्च मरुत्तं च मे अमृतं च मे यक्ष्मं च मे नामयच्च मे जीवातुश्च मे दीर्घायुत्वं च मे नमित्रं च मे भयं च मे सुगं च मे शयनं च मे सुषा च मे सुदिनं च मे स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्।
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
शुक्लाम्बरधरं गणपतिमन्त्रं
अवतारं वावताये सुनो वीर हनुमान ओ राम सुनो वीर हनुमान आसन को प्रभु आइए सिया सका सहित भगवान सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय उमापति महादेव की जय शंकर हरि ओम.
My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our divine Lord and Master, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Aum Sri Ram, dear brothers, sisters, and children. I would like to welcome you to the Group 3 Speech Festival. We would like to enlighten you about the Ramayana through some beautiful short stories put together very lovingly by the Group 3 second year students. I hope you enjoy it. One of the greatest Indian epics, the Ramayana, was written by the famous sage 𝐁𝐴𝐺𝐳. This famous Hindu scripture was composed in a poetic form in Sanskrit. The Ramayana is a tale of the triumph of good over evil, where Lord Rama fought and killed the demon king Ravana to rescue his wife Sita. This epic is filled with lessons about Hindu culture and also helps us understand the true meaning of love, devotion, courage, and bravery. Why is Hanuman called Bajrangabali? The ever-curious Hanuman once saw Sita adorning her forehead with vermilion. Hanuman asked, "Sita, why are you putting vermilion on your forehead?" Sita was amused by the curiosity of Hanuman and answered, "I apply it to ensure the long life of Rama." Listening to this, Hanuman smeared his whole body with vermilion. Lord Rama was so amused that he burst into laughter. He called Hanuman close to him and said, "I'm amazed by your love and devotion towards me, and from now on people will also know you as Bajrangabali." Bajrang in the word Bajrangabali means orange. I now hand you over to my fellow students to continue with the stories. Jai Sai Ram.
The story of Ravana's soul. It is believed that before going for the battle with Rama, Ravana deposited his soul with a hermit called Fire Eye. The hermit was supposed to guard Ravana's soul and keep it safe until he came back. During the battle, Rama was surprised to see that none of the arrows that struck Ravana could harm him. The secret about Ravana's soul was known to one of Rama's allies, who transformed himself into Ravana and went to the hermit asking to return his soul. As soon as the soul was set free, Rama killed the demon king Ravana.
The story of the incarnation of Rama's brothers. Rama is the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. It is believed that his brothers, Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrughan, are the incarnations of the Sheshnag, the multi-headed serpent who was Lord Vishnu's seat in Vaikuntha, the Shankha, Lord Vishnu's conch, and the Sudarshan Chakra, Lord Vishnu's weapon.
Aum Sri Sai Ram, the story of Mandodari and Sita. It is a well-known fact that Sita was the daughter of King Janaka. But according to one of the references in the Adbhuta Ramayana, Mandodari was the mother of Sita. It is believed that Ravana used to store the blood of all the saints he killed in a large pot. One of the sages, 𝐂𝐴𝐺𝐳, stored milk obtained from darba grass in a pot to practice penance and to have goddess Lakshmi as his daughter. Ravana got a hold of the milk pot by sneaking into 𝐂𝐴𝐺𝐳's house and poured the milk into his pot of blood. Mandodari got so affected by this evil act that she decided to commit suicide by drinking the contents of this pot. And after drinking from Ravana's pot, Mandodari did not die. Instead, she became pregnant with Sita. After Sita's birth, who is one of the incarnations of goddess Lakshmi, Mandodari left the baby in Kurukshetra, and that is how King Janaka found Sita.
Aum Sri Ram. How the demon king Ravana got 10 heads. To please Lord Brahma, Ravana underwent severe tapasya that lasted for several years. One day, to appease Lord Brahma, he decided to chop off his head. When he chopped off his head, it grew back again. He kept chopping off his head till his austerity pleased Lord Brahma. Impressed by Ravana's dedication, Lord Brahma blessed him with 10 heads, and Ravana became one of the greatest and the most powerful king. The 10 heads of Ravana are symbolic of the 6 Shastras and 4 Vedas that he mastered.
The story of Lord Rama's sister Shanta. Apart from his 3 brothers, Rama also had a sister. Not many people know about this, and it is also believed that all 4 sons of King Dasrath were not told about the existence of their sister Shanta. Shanta was the oldest child of King Dasrath and Queen Kaushalya. Queen Kaushalya had an older sister named Vaishani, who did not have any children of her own. So during one of her visits to her younger sister Kaushalya, Vaishani asked for Kaushalya's child. King Dasrath agreed to give his daughter Shanta to Vaishani.
The story of Shurpanakha. Shurpanakha was Ravana's sister, and it is believed that she instigated the battle between Rama and Ravana. There are different versions of the story of how Shurpanakha was the reason behind the battle. Still, according to Valmiki's version, Shurpanakha approached Rama with a marriage proposal, but he refused her proposal. She then turned to Lakshman. Lakshman too refused her proposal, and baffled, she decided to harm Sita. On Rama's orders, Lakshman chopped off Shurpanakha's nose. Insulted and disheartened, she went to her brother Ravana, who abducted Sita, to seek revenge on Rama and Lakshman.
The story of Hanuman's death sentence by Rama. Once, on being instigated by Narada, Hanuman unknowingly insulted Vishvaritra. This happened when Hanuman greeted all the sages in Rama's court, but didn't greet Vishvaritra because he wasn't a saint by birth. Vishvaritra felt offended and ordered Rama to issue a death sentence for Hanuman. The death sentence was executed, but none of their arrows or even the Brahmastra could harm Hanuman. This was because Hanuman kept chanting Rama's name.
The story of Lakshman's sleep. Lakshman wanted to protect Rama and Sita during the period of exile, and for that he wanted to be devoid of sleep. To avoid sleeping, Lakshman approached Nidra, the goddess of sleep, and asked her to take back his sleep for 14 years. The goddess agreed by saying that someone else would have to sleep on his behalf for 14 years. Lakshman went to his wife Amala and asked her if she would take his sleep, to which she agreed. Amala slept for 14 years, and this helped Lakshman to help Rama.
The story of Rama's death. When it was time for him to die, Rama deceived Hanuman. This was because Hanuman would not let Yama claim Rama's soul, and thus it was impossible for Rama to die. To distract Hanuman, Rama threw his ring in a crack and asked Hanuman to get it. Hanuman turned himself into the size of a beetle and jumped inside the crack, which led him to Naklok. He asked King Vasuki of Naklok for the ring, who guided him towards a pile of rings, all of which belonged to Rama. Hanuman was shocked seeing the pile of rings, and Vasuki informed him that he was tricked by Rama.
Chaiti Karagubhansamani Narapati Nipata Kusajo Rama Narapati Nipata Kusajo Sahami Parahu Laki Singinihi Manahu Brida Gajaraju Siyavar Ramachandra ki jai Bhavana Sutta Hanuman ki jai Umapati Mahadev ki jai Shankara Hari Om. Ram Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. 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 Sukha मधुर वचन महतारी राम सिया राम जय जय राम राम सिया राम जय जय राम मोहि कहूँ तात तुक कारण करय जतन जेहि होई निर्वारण सुनहु राम सब कारण एऊ राजहि तुम पर बहुत सनेऊ राम सिया राम जय जय राम राम सिया राम जय जय राम ग्रीन कहे निमोई तुई परधाना मागे जो कछु मोहि सुहाना सो सुनि पाहुया भूप और सोचो जानी न सकहि तुम्हारा संकोचो राम सिया राम जय जय राम राम सिया राम जय जय राम
The jewel of the Raghu race went and saw the king in an utterly rent state, like an aged elephant who dropped down in terror at the sight of a lioness. His lips got parched and his whole frame burned. He looked like a helpless snake bereft of the gem on its hood. The Lord beheld by the side of his father, angry 𝐂𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴, who stood there like death personified, counting the last minutes of his life. Sri Rama was compassionate and soft by nature. He witnessed sorrow, and for the first time in his life, he had never heard of it before.
Yet recovering himself as the occasion demanded, addressed his stepmother in the following sweet words. Tell me, dear mother, the cause of my father's distress so that an attempt can be made to remove it. Listen, Ram, the sole cause is this. The king is very fond of you. He had promised me 2 boons of my choice, and I asked whatever I liked. The king, however, was stricken with grief to hear my requests, for he cannot shake off the hesitation on your score. Our beloved Swami told students in a divine discourse.
Everyone knows that the people of Bharat have been offering various types of flowers to the Lord to worship him in accordance with ancient Indian traditions. However, the beauty and fragrance of these flowers is only momentary. Offer the flower of your heart to God. This is one flower that within us neither fades nor withers with the passage of time. This is the flower that the Lord holds dear. It is the flower of our hearts, which is always filled with fragrance and does not undergo any change. Offering this flower is true. Among all the flowers, Sarva Bhuta Daya Pushpam, compassion for all creatures, is most important. Man alone is endowed with this virtue of compassion. This is the flower that you should offer to God. Ishwara Sarva Bhuta, dweller of all beings. Names and forms may vary, but the same God is present in all. Therefore, you should have compassion towards all beings with the broad feeling that God is present in all. Then only can you understand how expansive and fragrant this compassion for all creatures is. You need not waste your time gathering flowers that fade away or wither in the passage of time. The flower of your hearts is eternal, ever fresh and ever fragrant, for which you need not spend even a Naya Paisa. That is a real flower. One who understands the secret of this flower is a Paramanyani, one of supreme knowledge.
सुतसने हुइत बचन होता संगत भरयु नरेषु हो राम संगत भरयु नरेषु सकहुत आयुषु धरऊ सिरा में तहु कति न कलेषु सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय उमापति महादेव की जय शंकर हरि ओम।
राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का धाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। निदर कबैची कहेगा तुबानी, सुनत कतिनता अत्य कुलानी। जीवक मान बचन सरनाना, मनहु मही फर्मुतल संहाना। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। Januk tora panu dari sarirum, sika tu danusha vidya barabirum. Sabhu prasango raghupati sanahe, beti manahu tanu dari neturai. राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। मन मुस्काई बान पुन बानो, राम सहाय च आनंद निदानो। बोल बचन विगट सब दोषना, मृदु मंजुल जानु बाग विभूषण। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। जननी सोई सुत बड़वाई, जो तुम्हातु वचन अनुरागी। तनय मात पितु तोषनिहारा, दुर्लभ जननी सकल संसारा। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। राम सियापति राम तुम्हारा राम सुखों का दाम, जय जय राम राजा राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम। जय राम जय बोलो जय सीताराम, बोलो जय राम।
Love for his son on one side and his promises made on the other. The king is placed on the horns of dilemma. Obey his command if you can, and rid him of his severe mental torture. 𝐂𝐴𝐡𝐚𝐭𝐬𝐿 unhesitatingly spoke these pungent words, which callousness itself was sore distress to her. With a tongue for a bow and words for so many shafts, and with the king for a delicate target, as it were.
The son of the solar dynasty, Sri Rama, the natural fountain of joy, smiled within himself and spoke the words which were free from all blemish and were so sweet and agreeable that they seemed to be the very ornaments of speech. Listen, mother, that son alone is blessed, the one who is devoted to his parents, the one who gratifies his mother and father is very rare in this world. Swami says, leading a life without discipline is like driving a car without brakes. Sense control is an essential requisite for students who are the vulnerable stage for succumbing temptations. You should teach them to talk sweetly and lovingly while adhering to the truth. Some mothers complain that their children don't listen to their advice and retort, "Don't talk, I know." For this situation, the mothers are to be blamed because of the result of having allowed indulgence in the children's early life. When they send their children to school, their responsibility does not cease. They should take care to ensure that they not only study properly, but develop good behavior, respect for parents and elders, speak the truth, and avoid bad company. Without discipline, one cannot be a devotee.
Aum Sri Ram. I am Kirasha Garib. Baba would like the food habits of children at school to be regulated. Food determines to a large extent of health and intelligence, emotion and impulse. Set limits to the quality and quantity of food, as well as the number of times it is consumed and the timings. Food does not always refer to calories, sattvic or otherwise. Instead, it refers to the sights, sounds and vibrations of those who process it, handle it and serve it. We as children need to aspire to be like Sri Ram. By attending Bhavikas and listening and learning to the various sadhanas, by then we will become disciplined. Aum Sri Ram.
Sahaja saral raghubar bharshana Komati ko tilakari jana ho Rama Komati ko tilakari jana Chale jonka jalla bakragati Jadapi salilu samana Siyavar Ramchandra ki jai Bhavan Sutta Hanuman ki jai Umapati Mahadeva ki jai Shankara Hari Om.
दोस्त रुक दुख दूर करने वाले तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम किया जा तू जग में भलाई का काम तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम रहसी रानी राम रुक पाही बोले कपत सने हुजनाई सुपत तुम्हारा भरत कही आना हे तू न दूसरम के चुन जाना तुम उपराध जो गुण ही ताता जननी जनक बंधु सुखदाता दोस्त रुक दुख दूर करने वाले तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम किया जा तू जग में भलाई का काम तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम राम सत्य सबुजो कछु कहो तुम पे तुमाता बचन रता आहाऊ पिता ही बुझा ही कहाऊ बलि सोई चौतन पन्ना जेहि न जुसन होई तुम सम सौन सुकृत जेहिंदीने उचितनता सुनिरादरु कीने दोस्त रुक दुख दूर करने वाले तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम किया जा तू जग में भलाई का काम तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम
सब कैसे मग हो गया दिक तीरथ जैसे लाग कही कुम को बचन सब कैसे मग हो गया दिक तीरथ जैसे राम ही मातु बचन सब पाए जिमि सुर सलिगत सलिल सुहाए। दोष रुक दुख दूर करने वाले तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम। किया जातु जग में भलाई का काम तेरे दुख दूर करेंगे राम। The words of Sri Ram were artless and straightforward, yet the evil-minded 𝐂𝐴𝐴 gave them a perverse twist. A leech must always move obliquely, even though the water on which it moves has a smooth surface. The queen rejoiced, finding Sri Ram inclined towards her proposal, and said, feigning affection, "I swear by yourself and Bharata that no other cause of the king's affliction is known to me. You are hardly culpable, dear son. You are a source of delight to your parents and brothers. What you say is all true. You are committed to your parents. I adjure with your father that he may not incur opprobrium in the last stage of his life."
It's hardly desirable for him to disregard the virtues, truthfulness, etc., that have gifted him a son like you. These words adorn her detestable mouth, even as sacred spots like Gaya beautify the accursed land of Magadha, South Bihar. All these words from his stepmother sounded pleasant to Sri Rama, in the same way of waters of all kinds are hallowed through the confluence with the holy Ganga.
Swami says, those who seek to acquire steadiness of faith must first acquire the strength to bear grief and pain, insult and injury. The succession of joy and grief must help confirm the faith and make it immovable. The joy of being the master of senses is far greater than being the slave. God can be felt and experienced only in the deepest depths of silence. Self-discipline can only be acquired by subduing the senses, control of the senses. Sri Ram is called the Maryada Purushottam because he was a man of principles, the ideal example of a perfect human being. We have given you an example today in our recital. When he was told to go for exile, he readily accepted the orders of his father and stepmother 𝐂𝐴𝐴. He had no complaints and was ready to give away his throne to his brother. He also fought the war against Ravan, abiding by his principles. Let us pray to our Sai Rama to help mold us into the ideal devotees we should be. May the grace of Bhagwan Baba be upon us all. Jai Sai Ram.
Aum Sri Ram. We offer our humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most beloved Swami. Today, we, the Group 3 first year 𝐵𝐴 students, will be narrating to you a few stories of Lord Hanuman, who was a great devotee of Lord Rama. These stories will show the crucial role that he played in the Ramayana and how his noble, innocent, and often mischievous character made him one of the central characters that served the mission of Dharma by Lord Rama's side.
Aum Sri Ram. My name is Kiran Chetty and I will be narrating the story Shankar's Decision. While Shiv and Sati rested on the summit of Kailas near Lake Mansarovar, he spoke to her, saying, "This day a wonderful thought has taken root in my mind. I always fix my mind on Almighty God Vishnu. I chant his name constantly with exceeding pleasure. He, whom I always long to meet, will descend upon the planet Earth to destroy evil and restore virtue. Ravan is the most sinful of all kings. He is causing harm to all virtuous people. All the devtas or sub-deities are also preparing to descend in different forms. They will directly support Ram in the war against Ravana. I also want to take part by doing my best for Ram. This will be the greatest opportunity for me to serve my Maker. I want to join the other Devtas by descending upon earth in the form of Hanuman. Thereafter, on a full moon night in the month of Chitra, Shankar or Shiv was born from Anjana as Hanuman. It was a Tuesday. Both Anjana and Kesari were delighted.
Aum Sri Ram. In the Ramayana, Hanuman is described as Rama's closest and most loyal devotee. After destroying Lanka and Ravana, he returns to Ayodhya with Lord Rama and continues to serve him. Despite this, some critics still refer to him as a monkey. Hanuman's beautiful mother Anjani had superhuman powers. His father Kesari ruled a gallant and hardy tribe of forest dwellers. In his childhood, Hanuman was blessed with 2 wings and outstanding strength. Whilst playing with the other Devta children, if any child caused trouble, he would take it upon himself to punish them. The Devtas were not happy about this, and their numerous attempts to catch him were unsuccessful, and he just flew away. Eventually, the Devtas got tired of Hanuman's attitude and constant punishment of their children, and they complained to Hanuman's greatest ally, Pavan Devta, who advised them to let the children play and fight, and sort out their own problems. But the parents got fed up and decided to clip Hanuman's wings. Since Pavan Devta would not hear of it, they approached Indra Devta. Now, Indra Devta was in a predicament. He had to try and please everyone, so his plan was to get Hanuman to destroy his own wings.
Hanuman enjoyed flying. However, one day Indra Devta applied his power of yoga and created a massive tree in the path Hanuman took to fly. The tree created an hindrance to Hanuman, and when he flew in a different direction, there was another tree. His wings often became entangled with the branches. This continued daily until Hanuman became frustrated. He realized that his wings had become a burden, and so he decided to clip them off. Hanuman went to Pavan Devta, who explained about Kuber and Varun and their request to clip off Hanuman's wings. Hanuman became cross and decided to punish the sons of the Devtas. Hanuman grew a long, stiff, and powerful tail with which he could defend himself and thrash the boys. The boys were happy when they saw Hanuman's wings had been clipped off, but they were in for a surprise. Hanuman whacked each boy with his tail, and although they tried, they could not defeat him. The boys went crying to their fathers, who went to Indra Devta for help. Indra Devta questioned how the boys were being attacked by Hanuman daily. He advised that the boys accept Hanuman as their leader and respect and honor him. The boys understood this when told by their fathers, and when they saw Hanuman, they clasped their hands and greeted him as Guruji. The boys accepted Hanuman as their leader and protector, and since then, Hanuman stopped punishing them. Jai Sai Ram.
Hanuman receives blessings from the Devatas. The Devatas thought of Brahma as supreme. On one certain occasion, Brahma wanted to please Vayudeva, so he called on Indra, Agni, Varuna, Dev, Kumbhar, and other Devatas to bless Hanuman. In return, Hanuman received the choicest of blessings. Brahma assured all the other Devatas that in time, Hanuman would be of special importance and he would succeed when no Devata had succeeded. These are the blessings Hanuman received. Indra Deva said, "My lightning will never hurt him." Surya Deva said, "I give Hanuman the power of solar energy. I also bless him to excel in knowledge, wisdom, and learning." Varun Deva said, "I give Hanuman the blessing of security against any form of physical disaster to him
in the air, land, or sea. Yamraj said, "Death will never strike him, sickness will never hurt him. In combat, he will always win." Kumbhadeva said, "In any combat, nothing could ever injure him." Lord Shiva said, "Nothing could ever injure him, no weapon of any kind." Lord Vishnu said, "Hanuman will remain young and immortal, no weapon of any kind could ever injure him." Lord Brahma said, "Hanuman will remain eternal, he will be victorious against any weapon. He will also win in every position he is put in, and any sort of battle. His enemies will always be vanquished. He will protect his devotees and worshippers. He will be a model example for all brahmacharyas and celibates. Hanuman will excel in crossing rivers and oceans. He will have no lust for female companionship. As his role as Ram's servant, Hanuman will perform fearful deeds against Ravan. He will be Ram's most dependable devotee."
Hanuman flies across the ocean. Sugriv had assigned duties to all his followers to search for Sita. Among the searchers there was King Bali's son, Angad. Angad had asked Sampati whether he had any information about Sita. He explained all about Ravana's cunningness. He said south from here is Lankampuri, where Ravana was king. He keeps Sita in a park called Ashok. Angad led his group to the coast. All were willing to fly over the ocean, but assured Angad that none could cover that distance. All the time Hanuman was resting on the side. Jambavan observed that Hanuman was silent and showed no interest. He knew of Hanuman's powers. He approached him and asked, "Why are you so silent? You excel in all physical and intellectual qualities. In traveling, nothing could defeat you. You are the only one that can cross the ocean. We have been warned that if we do not return with any news of Sita, we will be killed by Sugriv." That moment he woke up and saluted to all the members of Angad's group and asked Jambavan what was his request. Jambavan replied, "It is the wish of all of us that you fly over to Lankampuri and return with the news about Sita." On his way to Lankampur, he was stopped by Surasa, who was a demoness, whose intention was to delay him by the means of her magical powers. She threatened to eat him, but Hanuman showed no interest, although he thought it was proper to satisfy her needs. He told her that he was on his way to get news about Sita, and once he had delivered the news to Ram, he would come back so she could eat him. She did not agree, so she widened her mouth to an immense size. Hanuman expanded his body to twice that size. They kept repeating that process until Surasa had realized his power. She wished him well and knew that he would succeed on his journey. He reached the shore of Lanka. He climbed a mountain and from the summit he had saw Lankampuri. From there he had planned to search for Sita.
Hanuman succeeds in his search for Sita. Hanuman ascended a steep mountain in Lankampuri. He looked around and saw a splendor of material wealth. There was a female guard at the entrance point. She shouted, "You impudent fool! How dare you enter without my authority? Every thief who enters stealthily becomes my meal." She tried to grab him in order to devour him. Hanuman directed a heavy blow to her face, causing her to fall to the ground. She got up and asked for forgiveness. She then let him free. Hanuman still had no idea of where Sita was until he came across a gorgeous palace which had a replica of Ram's bow and arrow. He realized that it was 𝐵𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵 Vibhishan was thrilled to see Hanuman and explained Sita's whereabouts. Hanuman then headed towards a salt park. There he saw Sita sitting in desperation. Suddenly, Ravana appeared with a group of females. He tried to convince Sita to become his principal queen. Sita responded piercingly. This enraged Ravana to the point of wanting to kill her. His wife Queen Mandodari stopped him. As the dark night of Lanka enveloped, Sita was sitting sad and lonely. Hanuman took careful aim and dropped the ring in front of her. Sita was excited. She recognized the ring. It was Ram's ring. In haste, but with great care, Hanuman descended, bowed down before Sita. Sita thought that he was a spy sent by Ravana. Hanuman was instructed by Ram to bring the ring to her. Hanuman spoke words of comfort to put her mind at ease. Sita was relieved. Sita blessed Hanuman and was concerned of his safety. Hanuman left Sita but stayed in Lankapuri where he was to perform disastrous deeds. Jai Sai Ram.
Hanuman returns Ram and Lakshman to Naglok. Everyone tried their best to persuade Ravan to return Sita to Ram, yet Ravan remained arrogant. Ram's army attacked Lanka. Ravan's army could not overpower Ram's army. In Ravan's military camp, there was discussion on how to kidnap Ram and Lakshman. Ravan's son Ahiravan volunteered to kidnap Ram and Lakshman. Ahiravan had the ability to transform into Vibhishan, who was a devotee of Lord Ram. Ahiravan transformed into Vibhishan and kept close to the sleeping Ram and Lakshman. Ahiravan kidnapped the Ram and Lakshman while they were asleep. Everyone was shocked to see that there was no sign of Ram and Lakshman. Hanuman said he believed the culprit was Vibhishan. Vibhishan told everyone he knew who the real culprit was, as only Ahiravan could assume his form. Hanuman promised to bring back Ram and Lakshman and punish the wrongdoer. Hanuman went to Naglok. The Rakshas were performing a prayer and offering prasad to Shakti Mother Bandi. Hanuman reduced his size to that of an ant and shifted Shakti Mother's murti and assumed its form with his mouth open wide. The Rakshas thought the murti was alive and confirmed their prayer was a success. They kept on feeding the murti delicious ambrosia, which in reality was Hanuman. Ahiravan was prepared to sacrifice Ram and Lakshman with his mace. At that moment, Hanuman stood before Ahiravan. He attacked Ahiravan and punished all the Rakshas. He returned Ram and Lakshman to Naglok. All gave glory to Hanuman.
Ramachandra Bhagavan wanted to cross over from South India to Lanka in order to defeat Ravana. He had to also transport the monkey army. He thought that, as it is, he can't do anything, and he cannot take all the monkeys across of ocean in between India and Lanka. He thought that we must have a bridge so that everyone can cross over. So who can do it? He called Hanuman and told him, "We want a bridge ready tomorrow." Hanuman said, "Alright, Bhagavan." Hanuman knew that the Lord does not only order the living entities, but when he orders, he gives the strength, also so that we can fulfill his desire. So he was sure. They started to bring big mountains from all over India and tried to deposit them near the ocean. On each stone, he was writing Ram, and he was throwing them in the ocean, and the stones were floating. Lord Ramachandra was standing by the side. He was surprised that the stones were floating when they were thrown in the ocean. Then Lord Ram wanted to try it himself. He thought, if these stones are floating just by writing my name on it, then when I throw, also they must float. So he picked up a big stone and threw it in the ocean. It sank in the ocean. He thought that something must be wrong. Again, he picked up another stone and threw it, and again it went down. Hanuman was watching Ram. He asked, "What are you doing, Bhagavan?" Ram didn't want to tell anything because he was not successful. Hanuman said, "I know, Bhagavan, what you are doing. You must know these things better than me. I am bringing the stones and I am writing your name on it, so your association is there with the stone. Even if it is Krishna or Ram, it will definitely float. But when you throw the stone, you are rejecting the stone. So once you reject, how can they float? Moral of the story, we should do anything and everything, but don't get rejected by the Lord." And Vashivanas. When we are rejected, then there is no hope for us. The only way to avoid getting rejected by the Lord is to always remember His name and chant His name. Thank you.
Guru in advance. During the war in Lanka, Lord Ram's brother Lakshman was seriously injured by a powerful weapon. Lord Ram was very worried and urgently requested the help of an expert doctor named Sukan. Sukan advised Lord Ram that in order to save Lakshman, a special herb named Sanjivini Bhuta has to be found. This Sanjivini herb was located on a mountain called Drinagi. The special herb was to be given to Lakshman before sunrise to heal him. It was already nightfall and, without hesitation, Hanuman took Lord Ram's blessings and immediately sped off to find the herb. Meanwhile, the evil king Ravan knew of this plan and summoned a demon to hinder on Hanuman's journey. The demon was disguised as a holy yogi and stopped Hanuman, who was traveling at a great speed. Hanuman's attention was drawn by the demon's false holy appearance. The yogi offered to help Hanuman to get to the mountain faster by teaching him a special mantra. Hanuman was eager to complete his mission and was willing to learn this mantra by accepting the false yogi as his guru.
Lord Hanuman went to a lake and placed his foot in the water. A fish leaped out and changed into a fairy. She explained that she once was a fairy maid who was cursed. The remedy was that if the devotee of Lord Ram was to touch these waters, the curse would fall away, and so it did. She also told Hanuman about the false ascetic who is Ravan's spy, there to derail him from his journey. Lord Hanuman returned to his false guru with anger and insisted that he should pay a tuition fee. The Raksha protested against it, but Lord Hanuman paid his fee in the form of a violent beating and went on his way to Mount Dronagiri.
Aum Sri Sai Ram. This is a story about the importance of vermilion in Hanuman's life. Ram had destroyed Ravan and rescued Sita. He returned to Ayodhya in a flower-laden plain and then rode as king. All those who had taken part in the war were honored, and handsome gifts were given to one and all. Ram requested all to return to their homes. Hanuman was the only one who remained with Ram. Ram could not find it possible to bid him return also. Hanuman was his greatest devotee and servitor. Daily Hanuman did all he could to serve both Ram and Sita. On a certain occasion, Sita and Ram went to the palace in the city of Ayodhya. Hanuman accompanied them. They were about to enter the palace when Ram saw that Hanuman also wanted to enter. Ram asked Hanuman where he was going. Hanuman replied, telling him that wherever there is Ram, there is Hanuman too. Ram told Hanuman that there are limits to his duties and privileges, and that no one is allowed to go with him inside the palace. Hanuman saw that Mother Sita was going with him, so he asked how she is able to accompany Ram. Ram pointed to Mother Sita's hair parting and told Hanuman that the vermilion on her hair parting means that she is eligible to enter with him. Hanuman really believed that the vermilion on Sita's hair parting was a special requirement to qualify to enter wherever Ram was. He noticed that there was only a small quantity of vermilion used by Sita. Hanuman accepted Ram's explanation, but only for that day. He was going to plan for the next day. He wanted to prove that to Ram that he was a greater devotee than Sita. He measured the degree of devotion to Ram by the quantity of vermilion used. The next day, he ran to a merchant shop and entered. The merchant looked the other side. He then moved away. Hanuman collected all the vermilion containers and started to empty all the contents all over his body. His body looked red. Hanuman returned to the palace. He stood by the doorway from where Ram and Sita had entered. He expected them to leave from the same entrance. It was not long before Ram and Sita appeared at the doorway. Lord Ram gazed and recognized Hanuman. Sita did not, and she took fright. Ram asked Hanuman what miracles he had been performing that day. Hanuman said that it was just nothing of importance and that he just felt like applying vermilion on his body, so he sprinkled a pinch of it. Ram asked him if that was what he considered just a pinch. He said that only he would know what miracle he had been performing. Having said so, Ram and Sita prepared to return to their palace chamber. Ram turned back to see Hanuman following.
Ram asked Hanuman why he was coming in, and that he explained to him why he could not enter. Hanuman clasped his hands in prayer and said that he will not obey. He pointed to the vermilion on Mother Sita's head parting. He said that the vermilion entitles her to accompany him. Hanuman asked if the vermilion covering his body did allow him to enter. Ram smiled and told Hanuman that he is very intelligent. Hanuman told Ram that he should not say that. All his intelligence, strength, and other attributes are the fruits of his mercy.
Aum Sri Sai Ram. My story is on how Hanuman saved 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿 is also regarded as Ram's great devotee. One day Ram appeared in 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐿𝐴's dream and gave him a message to spend some time in Varanasi where devotees assembled to worship Shiva and Mother Durga. On his way from Varanasi to Ayodhya, he felt some danger was about to befall him. Suddenly, a demon appeared ahead of him. He expected to be attacked at any moment, however, to his great relief, the monster disappeared. Hanuman had been standing behind 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐿𝐴 as his protector. This time, Hanuman explained to 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐿𝐴 that before Ram ascended, he blessed him so that he would be able to protect his worshippers from any danger and evil.
Aum Sri Ram. The story that I am about to narrate is entitled Hanuman Gives Material Wealth. There was once a very religious man who lived in Ranga. He was very poor and prayed daily for his standards of living to improve. Unfortunately, it didn't, despite the passing of many years. He started doubting and questioning his faith and became disillusioned. He was of the opinion that those who were progressing and making headway did not deserve the good fortune, as, unlike him, they were not faithful and dedicated to religion and prayer. One day, the poor man met a saint named 𝐶𝐿𝐴 and explained to him his declining faith due to the lack of material progress, despite many years of consistent prayer and devotion. 𝐶𝐿𝐴 replied, "Continue to serve God and the Devtas. There is a reason for all our joys and sufferings. The time will come when God will bless you with abundant wealth. Be content with what you have. Stop envying other people's wealth." The poor man heeded the words of the 𝐶𝐿𝐴, but with the passing of years, his patience and faith diminished and continued to remain poor. The one morning at sunrise, a miracle occurred. While he was about to commence with his prayer rituals at the temple, Hanuman had descended in the disguised form of a priest. Hanuman gifted the poor man a shining metal tray covered in the finest silk cloth. Hanuman told the poor man to accept the small gift as a reward for his continuous devotion. The poor man accepted the tray, and before uncovering the tray, he went to tell 𝐶𝐿𝐴 about his encounter with the priest. 𝐶𝐿𝐴 replied, "At last, your longing has been fulfilled. Now remove the cloth." The poor man obliged and was pleasantly surprised to find a tray full of gold coins. Finally, his prayers were answered. The story teaches us that patience and prayer is always rewarding.
Aum Sri Sai Ram. My story is on chanting the Hanuman Chalisa can cure all diseases. After spending some time in Rampur, 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐿𝐴 traveled by boat to Ganga. A mysterious epidemic broke out in that village, and it brought pain and misery to the people. Many people died. 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐿𝐴 had much faith in Hanuman and began reciting the Hanuman Chalisa, and the villagers joined him. Lord Hanuman is known as a destroyer of evil, and he is worshipped as a symbol of preserving strength and devotion. As the villagers recited the Hanuman Chalisa, a miracle had taken place. Pain and misery began to disappear. The reciting thereafter became a daily routine. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed our story shared today and you gleaned important insights as well. Stay safe and blessed. Jai Sai Ram.
खाता विसर्जन होता है, सुनो वीर हनुमान ओ रामा, सुनो वीर हनुमान। आसन को प्रभु जाइए, सिया सका सहित भगवान, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय। शंकर हरि ओम।
Aum Sri Sai Ram, we hope that you enjoyed the Group 3 Drama Festival and found it inspirational and enjoyable. Jai Sai Ram.
ॐ तत्सत् श्रीनारायण तु पुरुषोत्तम गुरुतु सिद्धबुद्ध तु स्कन्द विनायक सविता पावक तु ब्रह्ममज्ज तु यहोव शक्ति तु येषु पिता प्रभु तु रुद्र विष्णु तु रामकृष्ण तु रहीमताओ तु वासुदेव गो विश्वरूप तु चिदानंद हरि तु अद्वितीय तु अकाल निर्भय आत्मलिंग शिव तु आत्मलिंग शिव तु असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। शांति शांति शांति।
I offer my humble prostrations at the lotus feet of my Lord and Master, Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba and Aum Sri Sai Ram, loving aspirants of Sai. On behalf of Chatsworth Region 2, we welcome you to this morning's special satsang, being the Group 3 Speech Festival. A special welcome to our Sai Blossoms and 𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐿 parents. Thank you for joining us this morning. We pray that with Swami's grace, you and your families are well. The infographic for this week is as follows. Plants help reduce stress and create a feeling of well-being. They also help improve air quality and help lower background noise. Try growing more bee and butterfly friendly plants. We are currently observing Ramayan week, and I would like to share an excerpt from Swami on this most important festival, and I quote, Rama is one, whether you identify it with the Atma or with the form installed in your heart. Every year comes the festival of Sri Ram Navami, but we have not so far understood its true significance. You identify Rama with a form, but Rama is not limited to any particular form. It is the name that is latent in your heart. Many changes and variations keep occurring in the world, but the name of Rama is immutable, is eternal, unsullied, and everlasting. Rama was not an ordinary individual. He was verily God, who incarnated on earth for the welfare of mankind. People call God by many names, like Rama, Krishna, Ishvara, and Mahadeva. They are all the names of one God. You should recognize the glory of this name. Sage Vasishta said, Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma, which translated means Rama is the personification of Dharma or righteousness. Dharma itself incarnated in the form of Rama. Unquote. This morning, our Sai Blossom, Nivarya, a Group 3 third year Bal Vikas pupil, will share her 108 GEM experience with us.
Aum Sri Ram. I have chosen gem number 25, Aum Sri Sai Ram by Navarane Namaha, who removes all fears. My journey with Swami began in the womb of my mother. My mom used to always speak about how active I was in her womb when she sat at satsangs on a Thursday and Sunday. Even after my birth, my mom used to tell me how I used to be mesmerized by Swami's bhajans, and I used to remain so calm during the duration of the satsang as a child. Swami has been my guide, protector, and strength for the past 14 years, and I continue to surrender to him for his guidance every day. From the time I was in grade R, I slept independently in my own room and had no fears of being alone at night in my own space. It was in May 2015 that I lost my grandma, who I was very close to. She was my everything. This left me shattered because I was not able to accept losing someone that I spent most of my life with. After her sudden demise, I found it very hard to fall asleep at night. In 2016 and 2017, my fear of sleeping alone continued. I then started to pray to Swami before I slept with a picture of him under my pillow. There were nights when I used to go into my parents' room and sleep on the bed with them because of my fear of being alone. As my prayer with Swami strengthened, I continued to hold on to him to help me overcome this fear. I then felt Swami's words, "Why fear when I am here?" echo in my ear, and this made me realize if Swami is omnipotent and omnipresent, there's no need to have fear because he will always protect me in my darkest days. Every time I feel a sense of fear, I always reflect on Swami's quote, "Why fear when I am here?" To date, I still sleep with a picture of Swami under my pillow. Every time I feel a sense of fear, I always hold on to it, which gives me a sense of comfort. Jai Shri Sai Ram.
Thank you, Navarya, for sharing your experience with us. The regional announcements for this week is as follows. Devotional announcements. Sunday morning sadhana at 5:30 a.m. Havan at 7 a.m. Thank you to Queensborough Sai Centre for conducting the Havan this morning in your respective homes. Online devotional program commences at 7:30 a.m. Online Veda classes at 9:15 a.m. Weekly WhatsApp study circles on the COD program takes place at center level every Monday. Devotees are encouraged to participate in these study circles. Please consult with your center devotional convener for further information. The Education Wing announcements. Thank you to our Group 3 Sai Blossoms for participating in the speech festival this morning. The next virtual excursion is to the church, and this takes place on the 23rd of April at 6 p.m. A humble appeal to all parents to please encourage your children to attend. Please liaise with your center education convener for further information. The Ladies' Forum announcements. 24-hour Gayatri chanting will take place tomorrow, the 19th of April. Please consult with your Center Ladies' Forum convener for the chanting schedule. Go Green announcements. These are common across all wings. We express gratitude to devotees that are currently assisting with the Amshlatuzana River cleanup. Devotees are encouraged to continue with the planting of spec boom, herb and veggie gardens, making of eco-bricks, liquid japa, can and paper recycling. For further information, please liaise with your Centre Go Green Champ. Young adult announcements. The young adults will be honoring mums via an online tribute and devotional program which will take place on the 2nd of May. We are requesting young adults to send in their selfies or pictures with their mum and or grandmums together with a little message. Young adults are also requested to send through their bhajans. There will be a Youth Day Sunday morning online program which takes place on the 13th of June 2021. For more details, please contact your Centre Young Adult Coordinator. During Aarti, please continue to pray for the sick and needy, peace within ourselves, in our country, and for the world at large. On behalf of the Chatsworth Regional Team, we pray that our Sai Rama bless you and your family with happiness, success, and prosperity on the auspicious occasion of Sri Ram Navami. Have a Sai-filled week ahead. Stay safe, stay blessed, always. Jai Sai Ram.
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपदान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्रशयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थइष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं बाबा विभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि। परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थइष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं बाबा विभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि। परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थइष्टार्थमोक्षप्रदानं बाबा विभूतिम् इदमाश्रयामि।
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। 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 ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्।